Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Chris, your crazy nurse RN. For today's video, I'll be going over 6 tips before you take your NCLEX-RN exam. I know some of the nurses out there wants to work in the United States of America, and in order for you to work here, you have to take your NCLEX-RN exam. And I know that it's not a piece of cake. It's really a hard exam that you could ever have. So I'll be giving you 6 tips on how to surpass your NCLEX-RN exam. Number 1, look for employers because employers will be the one who will sponsor you. So based on my experience, the first thing that I did was to look for a sponsor because during that time, I don't have money to pay for all those expenses in taking the exam. I know it's kind of costly and expensive to take that exam. So what I did is I looked for employers to sponsor me. So I was so lucky to have an employer through social media. And I was able to send my resumes, my credentials. And luckily I was able to get the post for that employer that I contacted or that I have submitted my resume and all my credentials. So I think that's the very first thing that you should do, especially if you don't want to spend a lot of money in taking your NCLEX-RN exam. There are a lot of employers out there that would take advantage of you. So just be vigilant, just be careful in choosing the good and reliable employers in social media or even in the website or in the internet. The second tip that I would give you is to figure out what state you would want to apply NCLEX-RN. I know that one of the important steps that you should know is to look for a state where you would want to take NCLEX. And one of the considerations that you would actually think of is the requirements that state would have in taking NCLEX. So in my case, I chose the New York State because during that time they don't have a lot of requirements. So I did my NCLEX-RN exam through New York State. Because there are a lot of states in the US that actually requires a bunch of requirements, and us foreign nurses, especially in the Philippines, we don't have those. Especially in California, they'll be asking for social security number and some other stuff which we do not have. So that would actually give us, some sort of challenges and difficulties in securing all those stuff. And it would be impossible for us to get that SSN, the social security number, because you will only get that when you are here in the United States of America. And it's really impossible for us to get that. So one tip that I advise you is to look for a state that would require less or not much of requirements, and that we could actually provide those requirements if you are a foreign nurse or foreign educated nurse, especially if you are from the Philippines. The third tip is find good learning materials. I know that NCLEX-RN exam is a very difficult exam, so it comes with a great preparation or a good preparation for you. In my case, I was actually working full-time as a clinical instructor back then, so it is not really difficult for me to do those stuff because I was teaching students back then, and at the same time I'm also learning nursing concept, which is very helpful while I'm reviewing for NCLEX-RN exam. And what I found difficult during that time was I was working full-time and I'm following up students during their night shift exposure. So what I usually did that time is after I'm done with my night shift exposure with my students, I usually head out to the review center and have some 4 hours review. Then after that, I head home and sleep. And I think that is not really healthy because I was not able to rest well. But you know what? Sometimes if you really need something, you really have to do sacrifices. I know that it is difficult. I know NCLEX-RN exam is a life-changing exam for nurses, because that would be one of the reasons for us to, to have a greener pasture here in the US. So, some sort of a little sacrifice will do. And I believe that after everything is done and after you have successfully passed the exam, it will be all worth it. I assure you, it will be all worth it. So yeah, one of the advice that I will give you is to, you really have to make some sacrifices, because at the end of the day, you will reap all those, all those sacrifices that you have. And I'm sure I'm sure it will give a positive outcome in your life. When it comes to learning materials, I personally used Uworld. It's actually an app that was given to me by my employer, so they paid for that, and I was able to review for 2 months with that app. I know this is not a sponsored video, but I highly recommend Uworld. So if you have time, if you have money, I highly recommend you to purchase Uworld, probably for 2 months, just to assess yourself on what level are you in, because in Uworld you will be able to know if you are ready to take the exam, because they have I think they have a sort of categories of how much you will able to get the answers correct, and they will be able to let you know if you can really pass the exam. So usually it's a predictor exam. Yeah, it's a predictor exam, and I believe it is a good source or reliable source of a review materials for somebody who wants to take the NCLEX-RN exam. One thing that I used was, to read a bunch of questions, multiple choice questions. You can use Saunder's book. I use that. That's a comprehensive NCLEX exam. Those are like questions, like 1,500 questions. I'm not really sure how many questions it is in the book, but it's more than like 1,500 plus, something like that. And I finished all those, and just have to practice answering multiple choice questions, especially select all that apply questions, because a lot of questions, especially the select all that apply format of questioning, can be found on the actual NCLEX exam. And it's kind of hard, you really have to pick what choices or what answers are applicable for that question. And once you have chosen a wrong choice or a wrong option, it would mess it up. You will be marked as wrong for that particular item. So it's a good practice though, that you have to really, make yourself acquainted for those kind of type of questions. To be honest with you, I don't really read a lot of concept about nursing. What I did when I took the NCLEX exam is I just do the multiple choice questions. I don't read, actual lectures. I don't have actual lectures. I don't read the whole book. I just, do the multiple choice questions. And because of that, you'll be able to learn on how to approach questions. And what is important about doing multiple choice question is for you to read the rationale behind that. Why is that particular option is the answer? So there should be an explanation about that, and that is very important, because that would give you an opportunity to actually learn a lot. And for my fourth tip is for you to, keep motivating yourself. I know it's a cliche, it's a common thing that you would always say, but you know what? It's very important, especially if you are working full-time. You really have to motivate yourself to do things, to review, because at some point in your life, you would be demotivated. You know what I mean? Especially if you are working, you have family, and those things are really stressful. Some of the reviewees or some of the students who are actually preparing for NCLEX exams are easily demotivated, because They think that it's too much. They think that, it's getting toll on them. They think that it's meaningless, it's worthless. There's a lot of things, important things that they should do in their life than, studying NCLEX, than studying a lot of things. But you know what? If you really need something, if you really want something that bad, you would really do everything to get it, and that comes a great motivation for you to do it. When I was reviewing NCLEX-RN exam, I also felt that way because, you know, as what I have said, I was working full time as a clinical instructor back then. And it's really stressful, because I'm following up students at the area. And sometimes, you don't have energy anymore after working, and you just feel like sitting there, sleeping or resting. But you know what? Sometimes you just have to think these things are all worth it. So you have to really do some sort of little sacrifice for that and motivate yourself. Nobody will but yourself. So, you know, just stay focused, concentrate on the things that you really want in your life, and I believe great things will happen if you do that. You know, you just have to question yourself, do you really need this? Do you really like this? So, because if you will say yes, of course, it will go along with how you approach things in life, especially if you're preparing a big exam like NCLEX-RN exam. The fifth tips that I would give you before taking NCLEX exam is, of course, believe in yourself, be confident. I could not say more about this, At the end of the day, it is you who will benefit from it, nobody else. So, you have to believe in yourself. In my experience, I know that I have this personality that sometimes if everything stresses me out, if I think that if everything are so challenging and difficult, I would question myself if I can do this or that. But, in this situation where you are taking an exam, you have to really believe in yourself that you can do it. When I took the NCLEX exam, just some sort of explanation about the exam. You can take the exam with a minimum 75 items exam, and that would be the gauge of the computer. Either you pass or you fail. And sometimes you can go over 75 items. When I took the exam, it stopped at 75. And people would say that if you stop with 75, that is not an assurance that you pass. It could either be you fail or you pass. So during that time when I took the exam, I know that I am not really sure with my answers back then. So I thought that I would fail. I thought that I would fail because people are so confident about themselves if they would really pass. But in my case, I am not really confident about it. And yeah, I was really skeptical about it because, it would be like a shame on me because I was like teaching students in a nursing school and I failed the exam, and that's really crazy, I know that I'm not stereotyping everybody, but that's just me, that is just me. And, I waited. I don't even look into my emails because I was really afraid to know the result because I thought I'm gonna fail because I think that I didn't do good in my exam, and it stopped at 75, the minimum items that you should take. So after how many days, I was so happy because after many days that I took the exam, I didn't look into my emails or even my account when I took the exam. And I think that was like after 3 days, or I am not really sure, where I had the confidence to really face it. And I checked my account or my emails probably, and I'm glad that I passed, That simply shows that you really have to believe in yourself. If you do well with your reviews, if you have really prepared well for your reviews, I think you would reap a positive outcome out of that. So just believe in yourself. Okay, so I could not say much more about that, but you really have to believe in yourself, be confident that you can do it. And this will lead me to my sixth tip before taking the exam. That is to trust God. You know, especially if you are preparing for your exams, like reviewing, you're taking practice exams, please put God at the center of it. You know, just pray, offer a silent prayer. If you are so stressed, if you think that everything is challenging, just give a moment of silence, pray. Prayer is a powerful tool for you to have peace of mind, to clear your minds, to ask for God's guidance. And while I was waiting for my exam result, after I took the NCLEX-RN exam, I actually prayed a lot. I didn't actually pray for the Lord to let me pass. I just prayed that whatever His will, that's it. If He wants me to pass, then He will let me pass. If He won't, well, there's another chance, I believe, or this will lead me another avenue to do it, or opportunity for me to better myself. You know, I know that it's a difficult exam, it's a challenging exam. I just told myself, if it is really for me to be a nurse in the United States, it will happen. You know, I prepared so much. I I did a lot of preparations, practice tests before I took the exam. And if it's really the will of God to let me pass, it is. I know that this would sound as odd as it would be to you, but you know, at the end of the day, we are nothing. We are nothing without God. So we always trust Him. We give our full confidence in His will. And I know everything that happens has a purpose. And we just have to deal with it. We just have to accept it with full heart, because I know that God won't let us down. So I think that would be all for the 6 tips before taking NCLEX-RN exam. I hope these 6 tips would help you in your preparation for taking the NCLEX-RN exam. So if you have any other tips, or do you have other experience with before taking the NCLEX exam, you can share your experience by commenting down below, and I would be glad to know all those experiences you have, and also help other students who are also preparing for the exam. I hope you have enjoyed this video and learned from it. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Crazy Nurse RN. Thank you and have a nice day.